I just won the lottery with the jackpot and everything. I am now a millionaire. I'm happy, well, sort of. But I have this nagging feeling that I've made a huge mistake. Is it all in my mind? Am I overreaching? What should I do? This seems like the right place to ask. I guess I better fill you in. I work in a military installation in Europe where some fancy future tech weapon systems are developed. I can't go into much detail about the installation, the layout, but just imagine an underground military base, bleak and sterile with endless grey corridors, funny signs that tell you to always keep your ID visible and a tongue of heavily armed guard. I am not one of the clever scientists, I'm just a simple oddly at the medical wing. It's quite a nice job, well paid, and nothing much happens at my night shift since all the accidents happen during the day. Some accidents are well though, but what do I know? I am not one of those weapon specialists. So what happened? Well, yesterday evening when I checked into work, the base was like a beehive. Scientists jogged awkwardly past me in the hallway, closely followed by some of the technical staff. Something was in the air, a strange feeling of anticipation. I noticed how many of the guards had a firm grip of their rifles. One of them even tightened his grip when I made eye contact with him. The putrid smell slowly intensified as I neared the medical ward. A scream made it to my ears, then another. I felt a huge knot form in my stomach. This was going to be a long night, I thought to myself. I had never seen such horror in my entire life. All the beds in the ward were occupied. Some even laid on the makeshift beds along one wall. All those poor things supposed to be human? Their screams certainly suggested. It had not been more than a minute at most before I was out in the hallway again, fighting my urge to spill my evening dinner everywhere, but it was a losing battle. After I had emptied my stomach, two guards each grabbed one of my hands and marched me to a small room at the end of the corridor. Even though they said nothing when they left the room, I knew I had to stay put. The weight was unbearable. The horrible images and smells still linger in my mind. My supervisor entered the cramped room and gave me a choice: get hold of myself and help in the medical ward, or report to the D wing and relieve one of the orderlies there. I quickly chose the second option. Anything must be better than whatever I had to do in the medical ward. She sighed and with a flick of her head signaled for me to follow her. Out in the corridor, she wasted no time and told one of the guards to take me to the day wing. Yes, ma'am. The brute of a guard promptly replied with a curt salute. Still occupied by the sight I had seen just 10 minutes before, I followed him like a zombie. Before I knew it, I stood in front of a strange-looking door. Strange in the manner that it had a large poster on it that covered most of the door. I got the feeling that it was there to hide something. Over the door was a big sign that simply read Patient 05 Alpha. The guard scanned his key card and opened the door. We walked inside a small office-like space, a small deck chair. Hell, there was even a sofa and a small bathroom beside another door. A person sat at the small desk and read a book. This person completely ignored the guard's call. After a moment, the guard walked up to him and slammed his hand hard on the table. The person made a jolt and almost fell off the chair. Immediately, the person signaled with his hand. The guard looked back at me, then at the person again. The guard told the person to follow while he tried his best to signal the word with his hand. After back and forth, the meaning finally got through to the deaf person. Before he left, he said something to me in sign language. When I shook my head and sighed, he looked surprised that I didn't understand it. He pointed towards the top drawer in the office desk and then gave me a look of concern that they left me alone in the room. A bit confused, I opened the office drawer and found a laminated page with some instructions on it. Apparently, my only job was to refill a water container in the room next to the one, and I was not to talk to the patient in the under any circumstances. I shrugged. This class seems easy enough and I was curious, so I thought it was a good time to see who was in the next room. I bet just to get my mind off the recent events. Before I left, however, I went to the bathroom to get some water for my sore throat as I still could taste the puke. Then I grabbed one of the gallon jugs of water next to the door and stepped through the door. I could hardly believe what I saw. A plain white room with a white carpet, the only carpet I'd ever seen in this place. All the edges were poorly finished and to be honest, it sort of looked like it could be pulled off quite easily. In the middle of the room, a metal bed and on it a person lead. He had straps on his head, torso, arms, and leg. He was completely immobile. What is strange still, his whole body except of his head was covered in white clothes like a mummy. A leather mask covered his head. The mask had a small hole in front of his mouth, which allowed for a small tube to enter. Another strange feature was a zipper on the left side, presumably used to reveal this guy's face. The instant the door slammed behind me, I sensed something. It hardly seemed like me. I could see some movement around his mouth. I slowly walked up behind the bed and took the lid of what I summarized was the water container. I filled it up, put the lid back on, and the moment I took a step, it started spasming. As much as the tight restraint allowed, he must be choking, I thought. Perhaps I had done something wrong. With little thought, I unzipped the mask to reveal his face. "Please, scratch me on my nose," he said. With a voice soft as silk, it itches so terribly. "Yeah? No," I replied. "I'll make it worth your while, Daniel." "What?" "Forgive me, but that is what your mother planned to call you." I frowned. I really had no desire to talk to a mentally ill person. I'd read a lot about what cold reading was and how easy someone could imitate knowing things about you. I felt like a fool and decided it was better to zip up the mask. When I leaned over him, we made eye contact. His eyes pierced deeply into my soul. They were so mesmerizing. It was like laying outside at night, staring up at the endless abyss of stars. The more I looked, the more was revealed to me. I felt drowning. "Scratch my nose, Daniel," he asked again. I felt his breath on my face as he said the words. I tried to look away, but the endless arrays of stars and nebulas in his eyes made that impossible. "Do you want me to release my hold on you, Daniel?" I blinked, then forced both of my hands up in front of my eyes. I walked backwards until I hit the door and then turned back. "All right, Daniel, that was most impressive. As a gift, your throat is all better. Did it not help, Daniel?" I stood stupefied. My throat was better, the taste of puke gone, but how? "Please scratch my nose before you leave. Come now, Daniel." I shook my head and chuckled. I must have been more shocked about those awful images than I thought. I turned around and moved to the bed again. With a raised eyebrow and I scratched his nose gently, I was drowning again by the deep abyss in his eye. "I have a use for you, Daniel. Do something extraordinary and think of me when you do it. If you do, be sure to make it back to me. Otherwise, strange things will happen, Daniel," he said and closed his eyes. It took a moment before I got to my senses. I zipped up his mask and walk out. For the rest of my shift, he lay so still. I almost thought he had died, but I could hear how he gulped at the water, so he was definitely alive. In the morning, I was relieved by another oddly who used his hand to signal me something. Just like the other oddly, I relieved. This one also seemed surprised that I wasn't there. On my way home, I stopped at the same gas station I always do to get something to eat. As I stood in the queue, I noticed the lottery sign. Hundreds of millions were in the pot. Nobody had won in 6 months. I thought of the strange person in the room, this patient 0 Alpha 5 or whatever his name was. A chill went up my spine. The cashier yelled. The 4 people who had waited in front of me had vanished. I must have drifted off. I bought the food and the lottery ticket. I think you know the rest of the story. I won. I am now a millionaire. I am sitting here typing this with a nagging feeling of despair. Should I go back to the military base tomorrow? What if I can't get another night shift with patient 50 Alpha? Am I overreaching? Or should I just enjoy my new life? What should I do? Kindly share your thoughts in the comment below. Thank you.